Chosen ones, have you sensed a quiet shift inside, even though nothing around you looks broken? Have you wondered why a place that once felt safe suddenly feels heavy? Why peace has slowly withdrawn without explanation? I want to promise you something right at the beginning. If you stay with me through this message, you will walk away with clarity, relief, and a deeper confidence that God is guiding your next step. This is not a message about fear or loss. It is about discernment, personal growth, and recognizing the sacred moment when God is gently preparing you to move. Genesis 31 opens without noise, without drama, yet everything changes. And many of you are standing in that same quiet turning point right now. What if the discomfort you feel is not failure, but mercy? What if the restlessness in your spirit is God protecting your future? In this video, we will uncover how God speaks when peace withdraws, how obedience opens doors you cannot see yet, and why trusting Him here leads to healing and freedom. Thank you for being here, for choosing to seek truth, and for allowing God to meet you in this moment. If Spiritual Journals has been a place of encouragement for you, subscribe and turn on notifications to help spread God's Word and walk this journey together. Stay with me, because this message may be exactly what your spirit has been waiting to hear. Chapter 31. Jacob flees from Laban. Now Jacob heard that the sons of Laban were saying, "Jacob has taken all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has gained all this wealth." And Jacob saw that Laban did not regard him with favor as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you." So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field where his flock was, and said to them, "I see that your father does not regard me with favor as he did before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not permit him to harm me. If he said, 'The spotted shall be your wages,' then all the flock bore spotted. And if he said, 'The striped shall be your wages,' then all the flock bore striped. Thus God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. In the breeding season of the flock, I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream that the goats that mated with the flock were striped, spotted, and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, 'Jacob,' and I said, 'Here I am.' And he said, 'Lift up your eyes and see, all the goats that mate with the flock are striped, spotted, and mottled, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now arise, go out from this land and return to the land of your kindred.' Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, 'Is there any portion or inheritance left to us in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and he has indeed devoured our money. All the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do.' So Jacob arose and set his sons and his wives on camels. He drove away all his livestock, all his property that he had gained, the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Paddan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob tricked Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he intended to flee. He fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the Euphrates, and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. When it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsman with him and pursued him for 7 days, and followed close after him into the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night, and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." And Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen pitched tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done that you have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and trick me and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs, with tambourine and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' And now you have gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" Jacob answered and said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what I have that is yours, and take it." Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the household gods, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. Laban felt all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, "Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the way of women is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the household gods. Then Jacob became angry and berated Laban. Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? For you have felt through all my goods. What have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams of your flocks. What was torn by wild beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. From my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the cold by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been on my side, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night." Then Laban answered and said to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day for these my daughters, or for their children whom they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jegar-Sahaduthah, but Jacob called it Galeed. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." Therefore he named it Galeed, and Mizpah, for he said, "The Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me." Then Laban said to Jacob, "See this heap and the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me, to do harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us." So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac, and Jacob offered a sacrifice in the hill country, and called his kinsmen to eat bread. They ate bread and spent the night in the hill country. Early in the morning, Laban arose and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned home.
At first, nothing looks urgent, and that is often how God works when it is time to move. Jacob is not running from danger or escaping disaster. He has history in this place. He built a life here. He raised children here. Provision flowed here for a long time. From the outside, leaving makes no sense. And yet, something deeper has shifted. Peace is no longer resting where it once did. Favor feels different. Conversations feel heavier. What once gave life now drains it. This is where God often speaks most clearly, not through crisis, but through quiet unease. God does not always shout when it is time to leave. Sometimes He gently removes the sense of rest so your spirit will start paying attention. This is not rejection. This is not loss. This is protection wrapped in mercy. When God withdraws peace, it is not because you failed. It is because He sees what is coming next and He loves you enough to prepare you early. There are seasons where staying looks faithful, but obedience is actually found in movement. Discernment in those moments is not reacting to chaos or forcing a decision. Discernment is responding to clarity that rises within your spirit. It is the quiet knowing that says, "This place shaped me, but it cannot hold me anymore." And that knowing can feel confusing because comfort has a voice too. Comfort whispers that familiar is safer than unknown. Comfort says you have invested too much to walk away now. Comfort reminds you of all the reasons staying makes sense, but God's voice often sounds different. It carries peace even when it calls you forward. And this is where the danger lies. If you delay obedience long enough, comfort can begin to sound like wisdom. Fear can disguise itself as patience. Attachment can disguise itself as loyalty. The Bible shows us this pattern again and again. Abraham was called to leave a land that was known in order to step into a promise that was unseen. Ruth left familiarity to walk into purpose she could not yet name. Even Jesus withdrew from places where crowds wanted to keep him because he knew his assignment required movement.
Finding purpose often begins with recognizing when God is loosening your grip on a season that once served you well. And that loosening can feel like grief. It can feel like uncertainty. It can even feel like loss. But God is gentle with that pain. He understands the weight of leaving what you prayed for once. He understands how hard it is to release something that once felt like an answer. That is why He speaks softly here. Return, and I will be with you. He does not explain every detail. He does not outline the full journey. He offers presence, and presence is always enough. When God says it is time to leave, He is not pushing you into danger. He is leading you into alignment. He knows what will harden your heart if you stay too long. He knows what will start shaping you in ways that no longer match who you are becoming. Peace leaving is often God's way of saying, do not build your identity here anymore. Your next chapter needs a different soil. And that can stir fear, because leaving requires trust. Trust that provision will follow obedience. Trust that relationships will be sorted by God's hand, not your control. Trust that finding purpose is not about clinging to what was, but stepping into what is unfolding. When God speaks and you hesitate, it is usually because your heart is still negotiating with familiarity, and God is patient with that. He does not rush you, but He does invite you to listen closely. The longer you stay where peace has left, the heavier your spirit becomes. Not because God is angry, but because your soul was not designed to live outside of alignment. There is relief waiting on the other side of obedience, even if you cannot see it yet. There is clarity that comes only after movement. There is strength that rises when you choose trust over comfort. And sometimes, finding purpose begins with one brave decision to honor the quiet instruction of God instead of the loud pull of what feels safe. If your heart has been restless, if your spirit has been unsettled without a clear reason, it may not be confusion at all. It may be God preparing you gently, lovingly, faithfully for what comes next. He knows when it is time to leave, and when He speaks, it is always because He is leading you somewhere that will hold your becoming with grace.
Jacob leaves quietly, And that detail carries more power than we often realize. He does not announce his departure. He does not defend his record. He does not demand recognition for years of faithfulness. He simply obeys. And while obedience looks small in the natural, it creates movement in the spiritual. Laban, on the other hand, chases loudly. His power rises, his anger speaks, accusations form. This contrast matters because it reveals a deeper truth. When God is involved, noise does not equal authority. Volume does not equal control. Heaven is never impressed by intimidation. Before conflict can erupt, before words turn into damage, God steps in quietly but decisively. One dream, one warning, one divine boundary that says no further. This is where faith takes a deep breath, because it reminds us that God is not reacting to danger after it happens. He is intercepting it before it ever reaches you. There are battles you never see because God blocks them in unseen places. There are conversations that never happen because heaven already answered. There are plans formed against you that dissolve overnight without your awareness. This is not coincidence, this is covenant. And this is a breakthrough message for anyone who feels tired of defending themselves. You do not have to fight every battle when God is your defender. The Bible is filled with moments where God protects his people without asking them to lift a finger. When Israel stood at the Red Sea with an army behind them, God said, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." When Jehoshaphat faced overwhelming opposition, God said, "The battle is not yours." When Daniel slept in the lion's den, heaven shut mouths he could not. God specializes in defending what you cannot. And yet so many people remain stuck in places God already released them from because fear whispers that leaving will provoke retaliation. Fear says if you move forward, they will come after you. Fear says if you obey, you will be attacked. Fear says it is safer to stay where you are mistreated than to risk confrontation by leaving. But what if leaving is exactly what activates divine protection? What if obedience places you under covering you did not have before? What if staying outside of God's instruction actually exposes you more than stepping out in faith ever could? Jacob's protection did not activate while he stayed, it activated when he left. That is not accidental. There are seasons where God waits for your movement so he can move on your behalf. He waits for obedience so he can draw the boundary, and that boundary does not require your explanation. God did not ask Jacob to argue his case, he spoke directly to Laban. This is comforting because it shows us something tender about God's heart. He does not need you to carry the burden of proving your innocence. He does not need you to rehearse your pain or justify your obedience. He knows the truth, and when he defends you, he does it in a way that cannot be manipulated or overruled. There is deep peace in knowing that some people will never understand your departure, but they also cannot stop it. God does not always change people's hearts. Sometimes he simply limits their reach. Sometimes he does not reconcile, he restrains, and that restraint is mercy. This touches a quiet fear many people carry, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of backlash, the fear that obedience will cost too much emotionally. But God sees that fear and he meets it with reassurance. I will handle what follows you. I will speak where you stay silent. I will protect what you cannot. This is not weakness, this is trust, and trust invites peace into places where anxiety once lived. When you let God defend you, your soul is freed from the exhausting work of self-preservation. You no longer have to watch your back. You no longer have to prepare responses in your head. You no longer have to stay awake at night replaying conversations that never happened. God is already there. He is already ahead of you. And sometimes the breakthrough message is not about gaining something new, but about realizing how much God has already been handling without your involvement. There is more beneath the surface here. God's defense is not only about protection from people, it is also protection from becoming someone you were never meant to be. Prolonged conflict hardens hearts. Ongoing injustice tempts bitterness. Staying too long in hostile environments reshapes your spirit. God defends you not just by stopping the enemy, but by preserving your softness. He protects your joy. He guards your calling. He keeps your identity intact.
Leaving does not mean you lost. It means God valued you enough to remove you from a battle that was never meant to define you. And when you trust Him to defend what you cannot, something sacred happens inside you. Your breathing slows, your shoulders drop, your heart begins to believe again. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you are not alone. God stands between you and what threatens you, and nothing crosses that line unless He allows it. This is not the end of the story. This is the place where faith exhales and peace returns.
Rachel hides idols, and Jacob does not know. And that quiet detail opens a sacred window into the human heart. It shows us that you can be moving forward in obedience while still carrying pieces of yesterday that feel safe. You can be stepping toward promise while something familiar rests quietly in your hands. This is not hypocrisy. This is humanity. God is not exposing this moment to shame Rachel or embarrass Jacob. He is revealing how deeply old systems can cling to us, even when our feet are already walking towards something new. Faith often begins before freedom is complete, and that is where grace meets us. Old systems are not always obvious. They are not always sinful behaviors or visible rebellion. Sometimes they are inherited fears, learned patterns, family expectations, or unspoken agreements we made with survival long ago. Rachel grew up in a home where household gods represented protection, identity, and control. To her, they were not just idols, they were familiarity, they were insurance, they were comfort in a world that often felt unstable. And God understands that. He knows how easy it is to trust what has worked before, even when He is calling you into something higher. This is where spiritual awakening gently begins. It is not a loud confrontation. It is a loving invitation to notice what you are still holding on to beneath the surface. God is not angry when He reveals hidden attachments. He is patient. He is compassionate. He knows that letting go can feel like losing security. That is why He surfaces idols slowly. He allows them to be seen, not to condemn you, but to free you, because He knows what you carry secretly has power over how fully you can receive what He is openly releasing. You cannot build a future rooted in promise while anchoring your heart to systems designed for survival. The Bible echoes this truth in many quiet ways. When Israel left Egypt, they physically walked out, but mentally they carried Egypt with them for a long time. God did not abandon them because of that. He walked with them through it. He taught them how to trust manna instead of stockpiles, presence instead of familiarity. When Gideon was called, God first asked him to tear down the altar in his father's house, not because God was cruel, but because awakening requires removing what competes with trust. When Jesus met the rich young ruler, the issue was not wealth itself, but the security it represented. God always addresses what we lean on when fear rises. And that is where this moment in Genesis becomes deeply personal. Idols today are rarely statues. They are backup plans we cling to just in case God does not come through the way we hope. They are relationships we refuse to release, even when they drain our spirit. They are habits of control that help us feel safe when uncertainty rises. They are old identities that once protected us, but now limit us. God does not rush this process. He allows awakening to unfold gently. He lets us see what no longer belongs so we can choose freedom without force. There is tenderness here. God knows that letting go feels like standing exposed. It feels like trusting without guarantees. It can stir anxiety, grief, and resistance all at once. But He does not leave you alone in that discomfort. He stays present. He reassures your heart that He is not asking you to leap without a net. He is asking you to trust that He is the net.
Spiritual awakening often happens when you realize that what once felt necessary is no longer needed. It is the moment your soul recognizes that God Himself has become your source of safety. That shift is holy, it is intimate, it is transformative, and it does not happen overnight. God does not demand perfection before promise. He invites honesty before freedom. He allows you to move forward even while He gently loosens your grip on old supports. And when he surfaces hidden idols, it is never to expose you to others. It is to heal you privately. Because he knows that secret dependencies quietly drain your peace. They divide your trust. They slow your joy. Releasing them does not make you weaker. It makes you lighter. It makes room for clarity. It opens space for deeper intimacy with God. When you finally let go of what you were using as backup, you discover that God has been steady all along. This can be emotional. It can feel like mourning what once kept you safe. God honors that grief. He does not dismiss it. He understands that old systems once served a purpose, but he also knows they cannot carry you into what is next. Awakening is not about loss. It is about exchange. You are not losing security. You are receiving a better one. You are not abandoning protection. You are stepping into divine covering. And when you release what you were hiding, what God is revealing begins to flow more freely. Peace deepens, trust grows, your spirit settles, and you realize that God was never trying to take something from you. He was always trying to free you for something greater.
Jacob finally speaks, and when he does, it is not with anger or accusation, but with truth that has been carried quietly for a long time. 20 years of labor rise to the surface, years without applause, years without fairness, years without shortcuts or public affirmation. This moment matters because it reveals something deeply comforting about God's heart. God sees what others overlook. He records what systems exploit. He remembers what people forget. Silence in God's economy is never absence. Just because your faithfulness was quiet does not mean it was invisible. Just because you were overlooked does not mean you were abandoned. This chapter gently reminds us that heaven keeps receipts. Every tear you swallowed, every boundary you honored, every moment you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to walk away or compromise. God saw it all, and that truth brings faith and healing to weary hearts that have wondered if endurance mattered. There is a sacred weight to unseen obedience. When you remain faithful under injustice, something holy is forming inside you. It may not feel rewarding in the moment. It may feel draining. It may even feel unfair. But God is doing a deeper work than immediate vindication. He is shaping your spirit, preserving your integrity, and protecting your future from being built on bitterness. The Bible echoes this promise quietly but consistently. David was anointed king long before anyone treated him like one. Hannah prayed in silence while others misunderstood her pain, yet God heard every word her lips could not form. Joseph served faithfully in prisons and palaces alike, long before anyone recognized his calling. In every case, God did not rush vindication. He prioritized formation, and formation brings healing that applause never could. This is important because many people carry wounds from seasons where they gave more than they received. They loved without return. They worked without recognition. They stayed loyal in environments that did not protect them. And over time, that kind of injustice can quietly wound the heart. It can create questions that are hard to voice. Did it matter? Was it worth it? Did God see me? Genesis reminds us that yes, he did. And not only did he see, he waited for the right moment to reveal it. Sometimes God waits until you leave the place that exploited you before he brings vindication, because staying too long can distort your sense of worth. God does not want your healing tied to the approval of people who benefited from your silence. He does not want your faith dependent on environments that never honored it. So he leads you out, gently and deliberately, and then he allows the truth to rise. But vindication does not always arrive with celebration. Sometimes it comes quietly. Sometimes it looks like peace returning to your body. Sometimes it looks like clarity replacing confusion. Sometimes it looks like no longer needing to explain yourself. That is faith and healing working together. Healing does not always demand a public apology. Sometimes it simply releases you from the need for one.
God knows that loud vindication can feed pride or reopen wounds. Quiet vindication restores dignity without reopening pain. When Jacob speaks, it is not to shame Laban, it is to name the truth so his own soul can breathe again. There is healing in being honest about what you carried. There is freedom in acknowledging what you endured. God allows that moment, not for revenge, but for restoration. And this is where many hearts find comfort. You do not need everyone to admit they were wrong for God to heal you. You do not need public acknowledgement for your faithfulness to count. God's recognition is enough. His timing is perfect, and His justice is always wrapped in mercy. Faithfulness under injustice is never wasted, because God uses it to heal you from the inside out. He teaches your heart how to trust without becoming hardened. He shows you how to endure without losing softness. He protects your future relationships from being shaped by unresolved pain. This is not weakness, this is strength refined by grace. And when vindication comes quietly, it often lasts longer. It settles deeper. It brings peace instead of pride. You wake up one day and realize the weight you carried is gone. The anger you expected never took root. The resentment you feared did not define you. That is God's hand. That is faith and healing meeting in the place where injustice once lived. God is not in a hurry to prove others wrong. He is committed to making you whole. And sometimes the greatest vindication is becoming healthy in ways that no one can take credit for. Your faithfulness was not wasted. Your silence was not ignored. Your obedience was not forgotten. God saw it all, and what He saw, He is healing with tenderness and care.
Finally, boundaries can be godly, and this truth carries a deep sense of relief for hearts that have tried to love without limits and paid the price for it. The covenant at Gilead is quiet but powerful. It is not a reunion filled with tears and apologies. It is not restoration of closeness or shared future plans. It is separation with accountability, and God Himself stands as witness. This moment teaches us something tender about how God protects His people. God does not always heal by bringing people closer. Sometimes He heals by creating distance and calling it peace. That can feel confusing at first, especially for hearts that long for harmony. Many of us were taught that forgiveness must always lead to closeness, but Scripture shows us that forgiveness and access are not the same thing. Boundaries are not bitterness. They are wisdom formed through discernment and grace. When God establishes distance, it is not because love failed, it is because love matured. This is where the presence of Jesus becomes so important to understand. Jesus loved perfectly, yet He did not allow unlimited access to everyone. He withdrew from crowds when pressure grew heavy. He left places where hearts were hardened. He loved deeply without remaining entangled in environments that resisted truth. Even Jesus stepped away to protect His mission, His peace, and His obedience to the Father. That alone tells us that distance can be holy. Distance can be an act of faith. Distance can be obedience wrapped in trust. The covenant at Gilead shows that peace does not always look like shared space. Sometimes it looks like clear lines and God in the middle. God places Himself as witness, so neither side needs to police the boundary. That is freeing. When God stands as witness, you do not need the other person to agree with your decision. You do not need their understanding. You do not need their permission. You only need obedience. This speaks to hearts that feel guilty for choosing peace. There is a quiet grief that comes with realizing closeness is no longer healthy. It can feel like failure. It can feel like loss. It can feel like giving up. But God sees it differently. He sees protection. He sees preservation. He sees healing in progress. Jesus Himself said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, not the peacekeepers."
Peacekeeping often demands self-sacrifice without discernment. Peacemaking requires wisdom, courage, and sometimes distance. When you stop striving to maintain closeness that drains your soul, you make room for God's peace to settle. Boundaries are not walls of anger, they are doors of clarity. They tell your heart where it is safe to rest. They tell your spirit where trust can grow again. And God is gentle with the emotions that surface when boundaries are set. He understands the sadness that comes with letting go of what you hoped a relationship could be. He understands the fear of being misunderstood. He understands the ache of choosing obedience over approval. That is why he offers his presence as reassurance. When God stands as witness, he carries the weight you no longer have to hold. Jesus invites the weary to come to him and find rest. Sometimes rest does not come from fixing relationships. Sometimes it comes from releasing them into God's hands and stepping back. There is healing in no longer explaining yourself. There is freedom in not having to justify your need for space. There is peace in knowing that God sees your heart even when others do not. Boundaries protect not only your peace, but your future calling. Prolonged closeness with unhealthy systems can slowly reshape your identity. God sets boundaries because he values who you are becoming. He knows what prolonged exposure can do to your joy, your faith, and your sense of worth. Jesus never compromised his identity to maintain access. He loved fully while remaining anchored in truth. That same balance is offered to you. Distance can be an act of trust that says, God, I believe you can handle what I am stepping back from. I believe you are enough to fill the space I am releasing. And when distance is commanded by God, it does not lead to isolation. It leads to alignment. It leads to peace that does not depend on circumstances. It leads to clarity that quiets confusion. It leads to a lighter spirit that can breathe again. Boundaries allow you to love without losing yourself. They allow you to forgive without reopening wounds. They allow you to obey without resentment. And when God calls distance holy, he sanctifies it with his presence. You are not walking away alone. Jesus walks with you. He understands the cost. He honors the obedience. He fills the silence with peace. And in that space, healing begins to deepen. You discover that peace does not require proximity. It requires alignment. You discover that obedience brings rest. You discover that God's boundaries are not harsh restrictions, but gentle guards placed around your heart. And in that sacred distance, you find that God was not removing love from your life. He was making room for a love that restores, strengthens, and carries you forward with grace.
As we come to the end of this chapter together, I want you to pause and breathe for a moment, because Genesis 31 leaves us with something sacred and steady. Laban leaves, Jacob stays obedient, and there is no applause, no loud confirmation, only peace settling where obedience was chosen. And that speaks deeply to me. I have learned that when God closes a season, he does not owe us explanations, only his presence. If your heart has been tired, if you have questioned whether obedience was worth the cost, I want to speak this over you gently. You did not miss God. You followed him, and that alone is victory. This is the moment to anchor yourself in a positive mindset, not because everything is perfect, but because God remains faithful when chapters end quietly. If this message encouraged your spirit, take a second to like this video as a simple act of agreement with what God is doing in your life. And right now, I invite you to comment the words, "I choose obedience," as a declaration that you are trusting God in your transition. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and walking this journey with Spiritual Journals. If you feel led, subscribe and turn on notifications so we can continue growing together in faith. Let me pray a blessing over you. May God guard your heart, steady your steps, and surround you with peace as you move forward. May his presence go with you, and may the next chapter unfold with grace and purpose.